So whenever I used to go to the farm, we used to look at kids around us and realized, there is zero exposure to these kids. Intelligent kids. I'm not saying they're not intelligent, but there is no exposure. So you ask them, what do you want to do? What do you want to become when you grow up? You would hear, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a farmer. Maximum, I want to be a police. That's it, right? So I said, okay, how can we work with these kids? How can we make them dream bigger? The only goal I had was to talk to them and tell them, what do you want to become? And I wanted to hear, I want to be an astrophysicist. I want to be a marine biologist. I want to be someone who will go to US and do this. That kind of aspirations, if you don't have, you don't work towards it, right? So the goal of that whole interaction was to make sure the kids have a bigger dream. And to do that, what do we do? Then I said, okay, these kids, nobody spoke English there. So, and I know what are the challenges we have when you don't speak English. I know 800 words in English. That's it. All my English words are not more than 6 letters, but I've managed it very well. So the question is not about how much of diction you know, how much of grammar you know. Are you able to express the thoughts you have in your mind, right? Doesn't matter whether you have an accent, whether doesn't matter whether you know the right way of saying. I never say entrepreneur. I say entrepreneur now also. People try to correct me. I say I don't care. Because the point is not about the pronunciation. The point is about the spirit behind that word. As long as you understand that, I think you'll do well in life. So we started off with English classes. And I said, okay, we're going to teach you English. And of course, there was a lot of doubt that why would you do it? We had 28 kids in the first week we started. And today we have 160 plus kids. And we have every child in the village coming to our classes right now. We started with English classes. So the whole concept was between friends and family, my cousins, my wife, everybody was a part of this whole venture when we started. And why Belaku? Because there is a very, very famous NGO in Jainagar called Belaku, BELAKU. And I met the gentleman, he's no more today. Wonderful work they do. And they have this old age home, they have an orphanage, they have multiple things they were doing. In fact, my first proceedings of my book, when I wrote the profits, I wrote it to Belaku at that time. I was really inspired by that. So I really liked the name, and it's a very Kannada name, right? Belaku is a very, very close to Kannada name. And I said, okay, I want to name Belaku itself. But my name had SHIVOO. So I said, okay, let's put the O here and make it Belaku. So that's how the Belaku came. So we registered. The reason why we registered was because of the pressures we used to get from the local guy saying, why you're doing this, where is the registrations, and etc., etc. So we said, okay, let's register Belaku. And my very close friend, his name is Shrikant. We studied together again in Hassan. He's from Tiptur. He works in Infosys today. His wife, Smita Hemmige, who's a chief marketing officer in a company called as Answer. Wonderful career she has. And we both came together. We said, shall we register it together? Because she was the one who was teaching English classes those days. So me and her came together, registered the trust called Belaku at that time. And we started a journey by teaching kids English. But today, we have morphed it into not just English, but entire life skills. And we wanted to target 8th, 9th, 10th kids. But the class was very interesting for the kids because we used to give them breakfast, lunch, a lot of goodies. We give them t-shirts, we give them anything they need for their educational requirements. We take care of it right now, right? So they used to get geometry boxes, multiple things, right? So their brothers and sisters who are in 2nd grade, 3rd grade were missing out on this, right? They had a FOMO. So they also started coming. So we were not structured earlier to handle so many kids. But luckily today we have wonderful volunteers. Shashi is one of them. Shilpa Vishwanath is the other person. So we have really nice volunteers. We have people coming all the way from Mysore every weekend to teach the kids. Jai Prakash, his son, who's in 12th grade right now, comes every Sunday to Manoli to teach our kids. So I think I've been blessed with good people around me who run many of our initiatives. So we started with that, and Belaku was started because of that. But today we do multiple different programs. We have another campus in, so all these kids go to government school. So all the kids go to school, they come on the weekends, and we have a structure, we have a methodology on which we pick up a skill, mostly life skills, which is a combination of CBSE skills, 21st century skills, and all the experiences we've had, and tone it down to make sure that the kids understand. Because we need to speak in a combination of English and Kannada so that they understand the topic. They've never seen a teacher who doesn't shout at them and hit them, right? We are one of those favorite teachers because we don't do any of those things. But discipline is there. A lot of times people think, hitting them, shouting at them is the only way to get disciplined in the class. I definitely don't believe in it. And we have fantastic kids there, high energy kids in Malvali. And then the second campus we started actually above my house in Hebal, which we moved to Smita's mom's house, which is in Dollars Colony right now. So we target kids in and around the area, worker kids or laborer kids or underprivileged kids who all go to government school or small private schools. Shilpa Vishwanath runs that classroom every Sunday. And again, we have a lot of corporates today who are tied up with us, who send their employees. A lot of students from Ramaya come to us because it's close by and engage with this kid. So again, we have a methodology, we have a syllabus, if you want to say it like that, but we have a structure through which we teach. The reason why this was important, the structure was important, was because most of the kids don't come to class every day, right? Their prerequisite knowledge is different. Yeah. So they might not even have it. That's second problem. The third problem is the levels of them is different. So the fourth standard is child. Two fourth standard children might be very different. The person might not even know alphabets. So you can't actually group them into grade levels or age groups. So we need to pick up a skill which will take care of these three problems we have. And we assume that these three problems will be there. The kid will not come. So anything we teach has to end in that hour itself. You cannot expect the child to come back next class and continue that learning. So we have modularized the entire learning, picked up key topics. We do academics also, but key topics. So because when you do weekend classes, let's say 3 hours, you get like 50 classes maximum per year. You're looking at 150 hours of teaching. You cannot possibly make an impact on their academic success because we cover 20-25% of the topics. Now, the challenge is to identify what 25% of the topics we want to teach them, which will create a good foundation for them as they grow up. Right? So we have picked up topics in science, social studies, mathematics, English, which actually is that foundation level. And we have our own methodology called BellaQ methodology, through which we teach. And there's a book which is coming out very soon on BellaQ methodology, which will be releasing it to all the NGOs and all the trainers. So it will be easy for them to follow a structure when they go and engage with NGOs. Today, if I invite you to an NGO or any NGO invites you and tells, hey, Rashmi, why don't you take this class? And they tell you, teach them hygiene, for example. You don't know where to start, right? You don't know how much to tell. So we have a methodology for that. So we have, how do we start? How do we create that? And again, I have done PhD in education. So we employ a lot of learning pedagogy, teaching pedagogy into the methodology what we have, which helps to structure the classroom very nicely. And that's what we are writing right now. So the book is going to be out this year, most probably, from BellaQ volunteers. So it's a collective work from all the people who have been a part of BellaQ to release 2 books. So one is on the 100 skills, the other one is on BellaQ methodology. So both will be out there. So that's been our journey in BellaQ right now. So there are many other programs we do in BellaQ. So if you're interested, we can discuss that also later.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a lot that you just capsuled in the last few minutes, telling us about the journey with BellaQ. But looking back on how it all started, how did you decide who's going to volunteer? You said you have a BellaQ methodology now, but how did you streamline the volunteers to speak the same language because the volunteers are coming from different cultural upbringing and different influences that they must have had as children themselves. So do you have a methodology whereby you pick your volunteers as well?
No. So very interesting question. Honestly, today, I completely depend on people. And I think people with knowledge, with a good intent, will try to do the best. So I don't force them my methodology. I don't force them my framework. I just tell them, make sure, how do we measure success? Every time, a lot of people, corporates, when they come to me with a check, they say, Shivoo, we want to see success. And I always tell them, you ask any kid, you ask yourself, what's the best day in your 8th grade? What's the best day in your 9th grade? Nobody is going to tell my examination was the best day. It is always going to be a visit to the zoo. It's a visit to the excursion we had. It was the annual day we had. So it's only the fun factor you remember in life. It's never the hardships you remember in life. Right? Nobody wants to remember the hardships. Everybody wants to remember the positive highs they got. So the only measurement I have is, are they happy in the classroom? Did they enjoy the class? I don't really care what you teach. I make sure they enjoy the class. In fact, the program name is also 100 skills, 100 kids, 100 smiles. I tell the only measurement for me is, of course, they learn the skill, but are they smiling end of the hour? If they think it's a punishment, they already go to the school. You can't do one more school to them on the weekend, right? It has to be something which excites them. It has to be something which inspires them. So as long as I find someone who can make my kids smile, they are my volunteers. I tell them, you can teach them anything. You can teach them a card trick. You can teach them English. You can teach them hygiene. You can teach them safety. You can teach them computers. I don't care. There is no structure or a topic which I want you to teach. Yes, if you don't know what to teach, here is a book. Take it. Try to follow this methodology, because it's not Bedaku methodology. It is the teaching pedagogy methodology. Right? This is how you teach. Like, sometimes as a teacher, you don't even know that this is something you do. Like, you walk into a classroom. What do you do the first? In corporate word, we say breaking the ice. But in a classroom, you just go, and let's say you take a centipede to the class, right? And just show the centipede. Just keep it on the table. Don't talk about it. Just keep it on the table. Every child now is looking at that centipede and is wondering, what are you going to do now with that centipede? And let's say you don't even talk about it for the first 30 seconds. You have actually instilled that sense of curiosity in the child then and there itself. Then you talk about centipedes, they will easily connect, right? Now that is called as a hook. Now, sometimes if you don't know the methodology, you do it without knowing the framework. But sometimes when you know the framework, you can start structuring your thoughts around it. So I call Bedaku methodology more like an MBA, frameworks you have.
Yeah.
Just put your thoughts into it. Makes it easier for you to teach, because the information is out there.
Yes.
That is not the information is never the king. It's the passion at which you connect with the students and convey that information to the kids, right? So that's the most challenging work. So I have found volunteers, teachers, as young as 4th standard kids to 60-year-olds or more, who've been a wonderful teacher and a volunteer for us.